people, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about advanced competencies, American Music Therapy Association. This is what I'm going to be using for my study methods. This is not sponsored by these people. They don't really like me. I'm just putting it out there. And they're probably going to hate me even more than I'm giving you the answers. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it's important. We all need to succeed. And like, these resources weren't out there when I was studying for the exam. And now I have taken so many exams: finance, medical, billing and coding, music therapy, and now I actually know how to study based on this material. So whenever you're studying for a major board certification exam, you want to figure out what are the learning objectives, what's going to be covered. And in terms of the music therapy board certification exam, it's going to be situational based questions. And you need to pick the best possible answer, not the correct answer. And the best possible answer is going to be based on the learning objectives. And we're going to go through part of them right now. We're going to go through the advanced competencies. So, just a general rule of thumb, we have the professional level of practice. Which is, it says here that acquired with a baccalaureate degree in music therapy or its equivalent. And then we have the advanced level of practice. So the advanced level of practice talks about applying and integrating theories, research, terminology, musicianship, clinical skills, personal awareness, and to inform future music therapists. So generally speaking, that these are going to be the competencies that is going to usually be used in implementation, and implementation is the largest part of this exam. It's 63 questions, okay? So let's dive in, shall we? We have advanced competencies, professional practice, theory. So it says apply comprehensive, in-depth knowledge of the foundation and principles of music therapy practice, differentiate the theoretical and treatment orientations of current models of music therapy, synthesize comprehensive knowledge of current theories and deduct their implications for music therapy practice, supervision, education, research, identify theoretical constructs of music therapy and relate fields that underlie various clinical practices and research, current theoretical, clinical, and research literature of music therapy and related fields to identify emerging models and propose future models and trends for music therapy, articulate and defend a personal philosophy, approach, and theory to music therapy. So, again, I read through everything, but I'm going to go back and, rephrase it. So, Jesus Christ, where do I start? So, apply comprehensive, in-depth knowledge, foundations and principles, theory and treatment, current. Well, let's start with, 3. Comprehensive knowledge of current theories and deduce their implementations of music therapy practice. So current theories and understand. So if a company already has a music therapy program established, then you can kind of figure out where you're going to fit into this establishment. If it's new, you really want to figure out what your role is. So we want to it talks about clinical practices and research approaches. I have my shirt up here. I am a student, a graduate student at University of Miami, and their library is wonderful. So I get all my research from there, but you can also get music therapy research from the public library. You do not have to be a member. See what I'm talking about? These people get really mad at me. But it's the truth. You can get sustainable music therapy research. And believe it or not, Mass General posts most of their research on the free medical research website. And they do a lot of music and clinical research. Obviously, on music therapy, science, medical, field oriented. So I get a lot of my research studies from there. You don't need to pay for the journals, okay? Just saying. Then it has articulate and defend your personal philosophy. So I actually made a video on TikTok about my definition of music therapy, and I often get confused with music ed because I did teach music lessons to make money in undergrad. And music therapy is using music towards non-musical goals. Music ed is using music towards musical goals. And that's what I usually tell people. They don't understand because society isn't very bright. I'm just putting it out there. And that's okay. If they don't understand, it's okay. Like, the people who are paying you, the people who are hiring you, the people who you're going to go to school and study under, they're the ones that actually need to know your personal philosophy. Common people that you run into in hotel elevators, if they don't get it, it's okay. Move on. Okay, next. Clinical practice. Clinical supervision. Okay, here we go. On the exam, there are a lot of questions. I got so many questions about being a supervisor. And I know it's weird because when you take the exam as an undergrad, you're like, supervisor? Like, what? But I started supervising students, I want to say maybe like 6 months. I started developing an internship program 6 months into the job. And then I think I got students like maybe a year after I worked there about. So you are, and then you can do that as a music therapist because like, you already passed the test, just to let you guys know. A lot of people aren't comfortable doing an internship program that soon, but I wanted to get my MBA, so I had to jump in and like start something business-wise. So here we go. Establish and maintain effective supervision relationship with supervisees. Yes. So I made sure to tell my students that I will become friends with them and I will be their recommendations in the future after the internship is over. And I mean, it's only a couple of months, so they were fine with it. Another thing, what I tended to do with my interns is like I did go out with them for a drink to celebrate, and that was kind of like the breaking of the ice component, where it's like, okay, we can't hang out, and then once you finish your internship, we can go for a drink, and that will be like the breaking the ice, supervisor student relationship. Some people do that. Some people give gifts. I'm not a gift giver. I'm a time spender. But you can do whatever you want, but just make sure that the point comes across. And it's really important to make sure that your students know that you're approachable. Because I had several like music therapy supervisors who like even after I graduated, they were still my supervisor. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to break the boundary. Just saying. So. Here we go. Promote the professional growth, self-awareness, and musical development for sure. Usually interns are very eager. Intern practicum students are very eager to show off their musical skills. And they're all very good musicians. It's just they kind of have to adapt music therapy-wise. But that's okay. That's why they're here. Apply research findings and theories for supervision. I always include a little binder/packet. Design and implement methods for observing and evaluating supervisees that have positive effects. I used the method that my internship did for me. So I literally copied, not necessarily copied, I adapted it accordingly, but I kind of did their evaluation method and I used it for my own students. I didn't create my own just because my internship did it a very organized manner and I wanted my program to assimilate. So we have analyze the supervisees music therapy session in terms of their music, verbal, nonverbal interventions, and music interpersonal dynamics with the client relationship. Okay, so when you have students, and listen, I fell into that category too when I was a student because you don't know what you're doing. So what happens is that the student comes in and they're usually like all eager to like play, right? And then they're like so pumped to play, I don't know, don't worry, be happy. And then they like get their guitar out and they're like, yeah, let's play, don't worry, be happy. And then they start singing like it's a concert. And it's like, no, the thing with music therapy is, yes, you're doing music, but you're not performing. You have to like break that fourth wall as a music therapist. So if you want to do Don't Worry, Be Happy, you have to figure out, like, do you want the clients to sing along with you? Do you want them to play instruments with you? If they're going to play instruments, why? Why are they going to play instruments? What's the goal? And how are you going to show them when to play the instruments? You know, how are you going to direct that? How are you going to teach them when and where you want them to play? And, like, sometimes, too, you know, what are you going to do before Don't Worry, Be Happy? What are you going to do after Don't Worry, Be Happy? You know, and you're going to be playing it on piano. Why are you going to play it on piano? If you're going to, like, direct the people to play the instruments, maybe you should be playing it on guitar. So, like, those are some of the things that students don't really understand or get, and it's totally fair because it's like they've never been in this situation before and they probably never actually saw a music therapy session. But when you approach them, you really have to explain and teach them when and where to do what type of things. So usually when the intern is starting out, I'm saying intern, but practicum students, the same thing. When the intern's starting out, you have to set, okay, what songs do you feel comfortable with? Oh, I feel comfortable with Bob Marley and the Beatles. Okay, great. You know, have you thought of something to open a Bob Marley session? Have you thought of something to close a Bob Marley session? No, I didn't. You know, oh, like, so what instruments are you going to be playing, you know, for these songs? And then, oh, I'm going to be playing guitar for all 3 songs. Do you think that that promotes music diversity? No, it doesn't. You know, so these are what the things you have to do as a supervisor. You don't just come and bark at them. You be firm. You kind of talk them through the scenario. And by the end, they're going to be having, oh my gosh, my students, they literally had the whole session planned. I went on vacation and this one girl, she had the whole thing planned, like start to finish. She even did like an art intervention activity, which was so like not expected of her, and I was so proud because like my method actually works. Moving forward, use music to facilitate the process, and in that regard I would say like use music to show what you need to do if necessary. Some students you can just talk it out and they get it, but sometimes you have to show. It depends on the student. Apply knowledge of norms and practices of diversity in the process. Evaluate efficientness of various approaches and techniques for supervision. Again, like you really need to look at, so I taught music lessons before I supervised, and I think that gave me a leg up because I knew how to read students and how to approach students appropriately. But again, like that's just something that kind of comes with time. So if you're not good at it for your first couple sessions, like first couple students, I should say, it's okay. You know, it's going to come with time. Evaluate the effects of one's own personality, supervision style, limits, and process, and seek consultation as needed. So the thing is that when you've been supervising for a while, it's really good to do a little check-in to make sure that like you're still doing the process correctly. When you're a new supervisor, again, it's really good to have like a strong department head to kind of keep you in line. I didn't have either help, okay? What I ended up doing was I reached out to my internship and I asked them for feedback and I asked them for resources and I told them what I was doing. And they were there for me. So that's the thing, is like you do want to like ask people and get advice and like work with other music therapists. You might be lucky and you might have somebody great at your job helping you out, or you might be like me and have a bunch of people at your job that hate you because you're young and you're pretty and you're smart. So we'll see what happens. So next is clinical administration. Adhere to laws and regulations governed by the education and health services, especially in regards to music therapy. So obviously we have to follow the AMTA standards, and then whatever facility you're working at, they're going to have their own like set of things that they need to be examined. My long-term care facility, they had to get assessed every 3 years. And then schools, you know, they have like an assessment. Again, it depends on the state, but like you just have to keep up with everything and make sure that you don't get sloppy, especially in terms of like health. I mean, you know, we had COVID-19, and a lot of people like were reusing protective equipment, and like, you know, I understand that there was a shortage, but then there's standards that the facility has to follow, so it's like you kind of have to like meet somewhere in the middle. My office during that time actually was wonderful because we had everything that we needed to have, so we were able to follow protocol effectively. But like sometimes if you start reusing protective equipment just because you don't have enough, and then more comes and you still continue to reuse it, then the board comes to assess, then you could really be in trouble. So like keep that in mind. And a lot of times like your boss will go over this with you. It's not something that you need to worry about. You don't get paid the big bucks, you know what I'm saying? Adhere to the accreditation requirements. Again, that's kind of on the board. Usually that can sit for music therapists, like yes, you have your music therapy certification, but it usually consists of like CPR, shots, you know, that kind of stuff. Employ best practice music therapy reimbursement and financial options. Oh yes, finance makes me so happy. I talk about this in a little bit more depth in a couple of other videos, okay? And it's just kind of approaching the situation, advocating for yourself, and using resources to make sure you're paid fairly, and then make sure that you document the services so that the insurance understands what's going on for the client's behalf. Develop staffing practices for efficient delivery of music therapy services. This is, again, kind of falls into a money category because it's more beneficial to have one music therapist and a CNA, or one music therapist and an intern. It's more financially feasible to have that dynamic with a group of individuals than to have two music therapists. So when staffing, you always want to think about money if you need more staff, because money talks, and if money says yes, then the answer usually is yes. Develop efficient recruiting and interviewing strategies. So when finding clients, usually the facility goes through that way, but finding interns and practicum students, you really want to go through a university. That's what I did. I went through 5 universities, and then I reached out email and by phone. Develop procedures for staff evaluation and supervision. I told you guys I used my music therapy evaluation tactics from my own internship. Utilize management strategies to establish and maintain effective relationships at a high level of motivation among staff. It can be really hard to motivate staff sometimes. If you have a good relationship with staff, then it's easy to motivate them. But if they don't like you as a person, then like it's hard to motivate them. Usually individuals that were like of my same level, I usually got along with. It was always the supervisor, like especially at my first job, that didn't really like me. So but again, like as a manager, everybody in my office at the moment, we're all on the same page with everything, and we all kind of have the same goals in mind. That's why I like working at a hospital, at a private practice, more than a long-term care, because usually the staff has the same goals, if that makes sense. They're there to provide the best services to the client, and then like, you know, all the other differences kind of go away because you're like in the moment. So we have integrate music therapy staff and programs into the agency's service delivery systems. This tends to happen if you're working if you're freelance and you're working for a hospice center where they go, you know, there'll maybe be a facility, and then there'll be individuals at their homes. So that's something that you can advocate, to travel to individuals' homes, or you could travel like to do a group session at a facility. Design methods for evaluating music therapy programs and delivery of services. Again, this is one of those that, like, it depends on the situation and who you're working with for evaluating the music therapy process. I go about it through a spreadsheet, but I'm also like a math person. So that's clinical administration. We're going to go through advanced clinical skills, and then it looks like I'll just do one more video to finish this off. So advanced clinical skills: apply comprehensive knowledge of current methods of music therapy assessment, treatment, evaluation. Utilize comprehensive knowledge of human growth and development, music development, diagnostic classifications, and prognoses in formulating treatment plans. We kind of already covered that in the assessment category, but remember, assessment is... how many points? How many questions? It's the second biggest section, I think, 20. So it is important to understand again. Understand the dynamics and processes of therapy. Understand the dynamics and processes of various theoretical models in individual, didactic, family, and group therapy. Design and adapt assessment and evaluation procedures for various client populations. Utilize advanced music therapy methods within one or more theoretical frameworks to assess and evaluate clients' strengths, needs, and prognoses. Design treatment plans for emerging client populations. And that's kind of, again, more of a facility situation. Like, you're not going to be developing programs for, like, the future geriatric patients. You know what I mean? You kind of do it as it comes. Utilize advanced verbal and nonverbal interpersonal skills. Assume responsibilities of a primary therapist. This one, so that's the thing, is like, you do have primary therapy responsibilities, but a lot of times other members of the treatment plan don't really see it that way. So that's where the advocacy comes into play. Relate to the clinical phenomenon in music therapy in a broader treatment context, and respond to the dynamics of music and interpersonal relationships. So there's definitely going to be, like, relationships growing, because, like, everybody likes music, everybody can relate to music, and, like, when you're bringing up these ideas to clients, they'll definitely, like, understand. Sometimes staff even used to come up to me and be like, oh, I'm a musician, you know? So, like, even they'll connect to some degree. Let's see, there was something I wanted to talk about. Utilize advanced music therapy methods in one or more theoretical frameworks to assess and evaluate clients' strengths, needs, and prognoses. So, in this regard, this doesn't happen very frequently, but, like, one time when it was, like, summer, I would take the clients out for a walk, and I would play music while they were walking. So it was like, it wasn't live music, but it was still musical stimuli. And this allowed me to sort of assess, like, different client strengths in terms of ambulation, walking, movement. Because in acquired brain injury, we often focused on the cognitive abilities. So that's an example of that. Utilize the dynamics and processes of theoretical models. And again, this is, like, depending on the facility. Like, there were times that I asked if the family wanted to have, like, a session together, and the family would say no. You know? And then, again, some facilities, they don't want you to do that many individual sessions because of the financial revenue. So again, like, it really depends on the session, but whatever situation you're thrown into, you want to be able to bring a large amount of activities and information in there. So that is the, oh wait, we have a couple more, sorry. Advanced competencies. Call my mother back in a second. Fulfillment and clinical roles and responsibilities of music therapy. apply advanced skills for co-facilitating treatment of professionals. Yes, because you're going to have to educate professionals. It's so annoying. Knowledge of social justice and disabilities. That's like, you have to be open as a music therapist. Understand the differential use of creative arts therapy and the role of art, dance, drama, poetry reading. A lot of times I kind of incorporated, because I used to do musicals, I dance. I don't like to write, but certain poems are kind of interesting, so I used to bring all that into my sessions accordingly. And then recognize and apply comprehensive knowledge for music therapy interventions and seek consultation. So yeah, so this is something to kind of go over in a little bit more depth, because a lot of it talks about assessment, but it also talks about like staff, and I don't know, I didn't really work with the smartest people when I worked in a long-term facility. That's why I don't really like working in long-term facilities, but hey, to each their own. So there you go. That was the first chunk of advanced competencies. I will continue with the rest. I'm going to take a little break and watch some Married to Medicine, because it makes me very motivated. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye!